It's time to preview and predict some more college football games for week 2 of the 2023 college football season. In today's video, we're going to talk about all the afternoon games. I did the primetime videos yesterday. Be sure and click back and check that out. Today, we're going to talk about the afternoon games. The afternoon games in week 2 this year are headlined by Texas A&M on the road at Miami. We're going to talk about that game and all the other afternoon games right now. Yeah, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live on LouTube for you. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also, and tune in to that as well. Hey, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year, and believe it or not, some of them are even watchable. I don't know about this one. You can let me know in the comments down below what you think about my picks at the end of the video. If you disagree with them, it's probably going to be pretty unwatchable for you. If you like the picks, well, maybe it turns out it's watchable. It's usually how it goes. Anyway, let's get started. Okay, there's no line out yet on this game, but Charleston Southern on the road at Clemson, 2:15 Saturday afternoon. A lot of times when you have these FCS or really small group of 5 teams that are playing some of the bigger Power 5 programs, there will either be no odds, no line, no spread released on the game, or it'll get released really, really late in the week. I'm recording this around lunchtime on Thursday. And as of right now, there's no line out on the game. Obviously, Clemson will be a huge favorite in this game here, regardless of what happened earlier in the week against Duke. Now, Clemson, I think, under normal circumstances, would be at a little bit of a disadvantage here, having played a game on Monday, and then having a quick turnaround now and having to play again on Saturday. The fact that they're playing Charleston Southern, I think, is going to negate any disadvantage that Clemson might have had. And honestly, considering kind of the way it went for Clemson on Monday night, I think this actually benefits them to have a short week, a short turnaround, less time for them to kind of sit around and think about all of the things that went wrong against Duke on Monday night. It's probably the best thing for Clemson to just get back out on the field as soon as possible and get another game under their belt, one which they're almost assuredly going to win and win easily. Charleston Southern is 1-0. They beat North Greenville last week 13-10. Clemson, of course, 0-1 after losing this past week 28-7 at Duke. I expect Clemson to roll in this game. This should be a get-right game for Clemson's offense. I think Cade Klubnik, should be a lot less nervous. He should be able to settle into this game relatively quickly. He should have a really good game. Will Shipley, I would imagine, would be a little limited in this game. There's no questions about Will. We know what Will Shipley can do. Whatever you think about Clemson, Will Shipley is absolutely unbelievable. Their running back. Play him a little in the first half and then get him out of the game. The last thing you want if you're Clemson is for him to get injured. And Clemson, I think, has got to develop some sort of quarterback wide receiver chemistry or something. They need to find 1 or 2 reliable wide receivers, and maybe they can use this game, which is basically a glorified scrimmage, to try to check off some of those boxes on the to-do list. We'll see. So biggest thing for Clemson in this game here, right? Get back out on the field, get a win, avoid any major injuries in a game against an FCS opponent, Charleston Southern. Clemson will win big. All right, a really big game coming up this weekend, one that I'm really excited about too. 3:30 on ESPN2. Ole Miss versus Tulane, and this is a road game for Ole Miss at Tulane. Tulane, of course, had a remarkable season last year. They made a New Year's Six Bowl where they beat Southern Cal and Caleb Williams in an unbelievable game. Tulane and Ole Miss are both 1-0 on the season. Ole Miss is a 7.5-point road favorite. Ole Miss surprised me a little bit in week 1 in a positive way. We all know they can run the ball. They were one of, if not the best rushing teams in the SEC last year behind the running of Zach Evans and Quinshon Judkins. Zach Evans has gone off to the NFL. Quinshon Judkins returns, probably the best running back in the SEC. We know Ole Miss and that Lane Kiffin offense can run the ball. Jackson Dart is back at quarterback this year. They brought in a couple of transfer QBs, but ended up going with Jackson Dart again. He looked good. What surprised me about Clemson in week 1 was their the ability to throw the ball. I think I said Clemson. Not Clemson on my brain. I'm sorry. I've been laughing at Clemson for 5 days. I can't stop. What surprised me about Ole Miss was their ability to throw the ball. That's really something they've struggled with the last couple of years is the downfield passing game. It looked really, really good last week. Now, albeit against inferior competition. Big step up this week on the road at a pretty good Tulane team. But if Ole Miss wants to take the next step from being sort of a, just a ranked team that's winning 8 games, 9 games, somewhere in there a year to maybe getting to the 10-plus win mark and potentially even challenging for an SEC West title at some point, Well, the divisions are going away after this year. So SEC West title this year, or an SEC title, or playoff berth in the future when we go to 12 teams. It's that downfield passing game and the defense that has to evolve for Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. I liked what I saw from them in week one. It was better than I thought it would be. Tulane also looked really, really good in week one. They have a lot of pieces back from last year's team, which, like I mentioned, was really, really good. Beating Southern Cal in a New Year's Six game at the end of the year. Their quarterback is back. Pratt, is it Michael Pratt? I know it's Pratt. I think it's Michael Pratt. He was 14 of 15 in week one for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. And if you remember him from the bowl game against Southern Cal, he is no joke. Tulane's got a good rushing team, too, and Michael Pratt can throw the ball, obviously, when they need him to, 14 of 15, 300 yards. I think this is going to be a great game. I actually picked Ole Miss to lose this game in my preseason prediction video that I did about Ole Miss, my team-by-team series of videos that I did. When I did the Ole Miss video, I actually predicted them to lose this game on the road at Tulane. I actually think Ole Miss probably wins the game now, having watched Ole Miss in week one. Again, I know it was inferior competition, but just their ability to push the ball downfield vertically through the air impressed me. And like I said, I think that is what is going to take Ole Miss, or potentially could take Ole Miss to the next level. That being said, though, I don't know about 7.5 points. I think Tulane is a tough team. They're a good team. They're definitely not intimidated or scared by the step up in competition, having taken out Southern Cal just 2 games ago. Now that was back in, the end of last season, but I don't think Ole Miss or Tulane's going to be intimidated here. A home game for Tulane. I think the environment will be wild there. I think Tulane could possibly win the game. And I'm going to take Tulane in the 7.5 points. This could be a really, really good one. All right, a big game of the day that a lot of people are looking at in this afternoon time slot. You've got Alabama, Texas at night. That's kind of the game of the day. Talked about that in yesterday's video. But as far as these afternoon slate of games go, Texas A&M at Miami is a pretty big one. Both teams are 1-0. This game's in Miami, comes on 3:30 ABC. Texas A&M looked really good in week one, particularly offensively, which is honestly where they've struggled the last couple of years, right? The Jimbo Fisher offense has just been a complete mess. They bring Bobby Petrino in the offseason. A lot of people wonder, how's that going to go? How much power is Fisher really going to give up over that offense? Is he really going to let Petrino call the plays? So far, so good. It's only been 1 week, but Texas A&M put up, I think, 52 points in week one. And again, just like with a lot of teams, look, a lot of teams play terrible competition in week one, whether it be a lower tier group of 5 teams, FCS teams, whatever the case. A lot of teams do it. But here's the thing. They do it every year. Texas A&M played a lot of bad teams last year. You know how many times they scored 52 points last year? None, not a single time. They only got into the 30s twice. I don't care who they played. Who have they played? I don't care who they played. If you watched Texas A&M play last year and you watched them play last Saturday, it's obvious to anybody with a set of eyes that that offense is clearly better this season than it was last season, led by quarterback Connor Wegman, who had an unbelievable game for Texas A&M. I think he's set to have a breakout year. I really do. They're going to be really, really good. 236 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no interceptions for Connor Wegman in about 3 quarters before they took him out and put the Woozies in, like is what happens in all these blowout games. Miami, on the other hand, they got a big win too, 38-3 over Miami of Ohio. Most importantly for Miami, they ran the ball well and they stopped the run. Again, I know it's Miami of Ohio, but where were Miami's problems last year? Well, Miami had a ton of problems last year. But 2 of the bigger ones were their ability to run the ball and their ability to stop the run. Their offensive line looks to be improved. They kept Tyler Van Dyke on his feet for the most part, which, his health is key to any success Miami hopes to have this season. I'm having a hard time understanding this with the Miami ticket situation. This is embarrassing. And I know I do a lot of joking around and sort of trash talking on this channel. Trash talk is just a part of college football. I'm not trash talking right now. This is embarrassing for Miami. This is a big game. Texas A&M coming to town early in the season, year 2 under Mario Cristobal, where you would think expectations and hopes would be high. And they can't give away tickets to this game in Miami. It's just absolutely embarrassing. As of yesterday, the ticket office at the University of Miami began offering BOGO deals for buy one, get one free deals for tickets. The second-hand ticket market, like your StubHubs, your Ticketmasters, things like that, where people sell tickets second-hand, half price of the face value. You've got people that paid $100 for the ticket that are now selling them for $50. It's just sad that Miami can't sell out a game of this magnitude. And yes, Texas A&M coming to town to play Miami early in the year is a huge game. And it's just sad for Miami that they can't sell this thing out. Anyway, Texas A&M's favored by 3.5. I don't think that's quite enough. I think this could be a close game, but I think Texas A&M wins by a touchdown. Give me the Aggies, lay the points. How about this one here? Iowa on the road at Iowa State, annual rivalry game played, I believe, week 2 almost every single year, if not every year. This one comes on 3:30 over on Fox. Iowa is a 4.5-point road favorite at the Cyclones. Both teams are 1-0, having won in week 1. Iowa beat Utah State 24-14. Iowa State beat Northern Iowa 30-9. This is an interesting game because these are the two teams that have sort of been caught up in the offseason in this gambling probe and investigation that's been going on that I have a feeling is probably going to spread, but it kind of started there in Iowa, and several players, former players, have been suspended. Some have been arrested and charged with underage gambling. It's just been kind of a big mess and honestly kind of a black eye, not just on Iowa and Iowa State, but just potentially college football in general. We've got to get a hold of the gambling situation. I'm, of course, pro-gambling. I have no issue at all with someone legally gambling, as long as they're not directly associated or affiliated with any sports team. Obviously, you just can't have that. I don't care if you're a player on the team, a coach on the team, an equipment manager, a personnel guy, an equipment guy. If you've got any direct or indirect affiliation with a sports team at all, you just can't be gambling. I mean, you just have to make a decision. If gambling is that important to you, then you got to find another line of work or something else to do. The integrity of the game, you just cannot allow that. You just can't have it. There's too much room for manipulation there, right? I think we all agree on that. So these two schools got caught up in that. Iowa State, a lot of people expected to be really, really bad this year, especially following all the gambling allegations. They actually came out and looked pretty good. Now, I know it was against a not very good team. Northern Iowa only won 30-9, but Iowa played Utah State, only won 24-14. So I was leaning Iowa in this game, and we all know the issues they have offensively. You know, Kirk Ferentz, the head coach. His son is the offensive coordinator. They average 12 points a game. I mean, there's no offense at all. They really should have fired Kirk Ferentz's son, the OC, but they didn't. Instead, they sort of reworked his contract, and his pay now is based on how many points they score. It's just a weird situation there offensively. And they didn't look great offensively last week either against Utah State, putting up just 24 points, which I believe is the minimum number. Is that a coincidence? I think the minimum point per game number that Iowa has to hit is 24 in order for that offensive coordinator to get paid or retain his job. And they scored exactly 24, beating Utah State 24-14. So kind of funny there. I was leaning Iowa in this game. I still think Iowa will win, but I'm going to take Iowa State in the points here. Maybe it's a field goal type game. It is a rivalry game. You see a lot of weird things happen, and I just I don't know. Iowa looked a little off to me week 1, whereas Iowa State looked better than I thought they would. I'm going to trust what I saw, and I'm going to go with Iowa State and the points here to keep it close. All right, Tulsa on the road at Washington. Now, this is a no-brainer. Washington will win this game. They're a top 10 team, a legitimate top 10 team in my opinion. But they're favored by 34.5. This is a lot of points. Tulsa's 1-0. They played Arkansas Pine Bluff last week and won 42-7. Washington, of course, destroyed Boise State 56-19, a much more impressive win, obviously, than Arkansas Pine Bluff. Michael Penix picked up right where he left off last year, 450 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions before being pulled for the backups late in that game. Arkansas Pine Bluff's a pretty balanced team. If you look at their stats from their first game, almost an equal number of yards rushing and passing. Washington, I think, though, potentially has the best defense in the Pac-12. Utah always plays pretty good defense, and then there's always like maybe one surprise team. I think Oregon will be better defensively this year, but I think Washington could have the best defense in the Pac-12. I really like Michael Penix. I'm concerned about Washington's running game. They lost one of their running backs a week or two before the season started, and unlike some other teams, they don't necessarily have the depth at that position to just sort of backfill or a running back by committee type approach to replace that. So long run, like over the course of the season against more difficult competition with better secondaries or pass defense, then that could potentially become an issue for Washington down the road. I do not think it'll be an issue in this game against Tulsa. And I hate betting games that are this lopsided, but I actually like Washington here minus 34.5. I think they could win this game somewhere in the neighborhood of 50-10. Washington, I think, is really, really good offensively and defensively. Tulsa, huge step up in competition this week after taking on Arkansas Pine Bluff last week. Long way to travel for them, too, up to the northwest. I'm actually going to take Washington to cover the 34.5. All right, there you go. Look at some of the afternoon games coming up for week 2 of the 2023 college football season. I will be doing one more of these videos covering the noon games. I did the primetime games yesterday. Here's your afternoon slate. I'll do one more covering some of the bigger noon games. We've got Colorado and Nebraska. Georgia plays at noon, although they play Ball State. I don't know if anybody has any interest in it. So we'll do one more of these where we talk about the noon games. Don't forget, tonight, coming up at 9 p.m., the College Football Call-In Show. I do a call-in show, a live show, every Tuesday and Thursday night at 9 p.m. So make sure you check that out tonight at 9. All right, appreciate you watching. Have a good morning.